Tonight, we are happy to welcome Wes Anderson and Noah Baumbach to the Live from the NYPL stage for a conversation about Fantastic Mr. Fox, Wes Anderson's first animated film based on the children's classic by Roald Dahl. Wes Anderson is the director, co-director, and producer of Fantastic Mr. Fox. He's also the director and co-writer of Bottle Rocket, Rushmore, The Royal Tenenbaums, The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, and The Darjeeling Limited. Noah Baumbach is the co-writer of Fantastic Mr. Fox. He wrote and directed Margot at the Wedding, The Squid and the Whale, and Kicking and Screaming. With Anderson, he co-wrote The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. Wes has pre-signed copies of Fantastic Mr. Fox that will be available with our bookseller after the program. At some point in the conversation, Wes and Noah will invite the audience to participate in Q&A. Please come up to the microphone that'll be in front of the stage if you'd like to ask a question. Ladies and gentlemen, Wes Anderson and Noah Baumbach.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks very much.
We could do this like the Italian talk show that's an extra on the Life Aquatic DVD.
How does it
pretend
start?
Not to hear things.
Wait for the translation.
Wes and I were actually, there was a time where we spent a good portion of our lives together, either working or just hanging out, but we actually haven't seen each other since I think like
2 years.
The New York Film Festival maybe 2 years ago. So we'll be catching up also live for you.
We have so much
we'll
to
try and make
discuss.
that interesting and not too inside.
Yeah, I was thinking about when we first started talking about this, doing this book together. It was around the time, it was during the post-production of Squid and the Whale.
Right.
And we went to this dinner. It was in Squid and the Whale. There's a scene where the family is trying to decide what they're going to do that evening, and they decide they're going to go to the movies. And I think the son suggests we go to 16 Candles, or
he says Short Circuit.
Short Circuit.
Yeah.
He said, "Want to go to Short Circuit?" And Bernard, the father, says, "I was kind of more interested in Blue Velvet."
Blue Velvet's supposed to be, Blue Velvet's supposed to be quite interesting. Yeah.
And then it cuts to the family watching the movie, and it's Isabella Rossellini standing on the street in a stupor,
right.
naked.
And the son's on a date also. Yeah.
Yes, right. I forgot that's an important part of it. So we went to this dinner around the time of that. We needed to get permission to use the clip. And
right, because it was written in, but we could add it in post-production. But we actually said Blue Velvet, so we had to get it. There was no way.
They said Blue Velvet, yeah, that was the joke.
Yeah.
And so we went to this dinner, and when we didn't know who was going to be at the dinner, but we actually ended up being seated on either side of Isabella Rossellini at this dinner. So I think, I'm not sure exactly what mindset I was in, but I was sort of in like a business mode. And when I saw her, I was like, we're going to close this right now tonight at this dinner.
But you didn't tell me this idea.
I know, I did. I mean, I kind of thought it was like a tag team, and we were in it together, and it was just going to happen. And I would start it on the left, and you'd come.
We were generally in sync, but not then.
Yes. Yeah. So I said to Isabella Rossellini, who's a very gracious person, we were talking, and I just sort of gently brought in, by the way, Noah is editing a wonderful film.
Right, and I'm like cutting into whatever, just...
And there's a scene in the film, where we use Blue Velvet, and in fact we've been working on the. I didn't want to hit it too hard, but it was sort of like we're actually trying to clear it right now. But I didn't want to. I thought I was kind of just delicately, and she could take it from there and say she could. And she said, "What's the scene?"
Right.
And I said,
"Noah."
Suddenly,
and I'm and I had that where there's the uncontrollable sweat.
That was the first time I'd seen his expression or the pallor and
it was so unlike you too, because we're both kind of tend to be quieter and shyer in those situations, and you just jumped in all business.
I was trying to be a producer.
Right. So so she's just looking right at me, and Wes is behind her, and I said, it's the scene where you're naked and come out on the porch and put your arms out, and you say, he put his disease in me.
And I turned to whoever was on my left and joined that conversation.
Meanwhile, you turned to John McEnroe or somebody else who was out there. But then she was incredible, and she was very moving about how that movie she'd had a tough reaction in Italy, I guess, when she did it, and how she was thrilled that we were interested, and so we got it. Actually, a side part of that is I then, after the movie had already come out, I was at a dinner that David Lynch was at, and I was introduced to him, and he said, "Yes, I lent you something of mine," which I thought was a really nice, good way to put it. It's on permanent loan, though, I hope. Yeah, but that was that night, right?
Yes. Then we walked down. We took the elevator down, walked to the street in silence, and then I said,
"It was just so unlike you."
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then we walked for a couple of blocks, and then for some reason I said, I've been thinking about adapting this Roald Dahl story, Fantastic Mr. Fox, and would you like to work with me on it? And you said, sure.
Yeah.
And that was how the project started.
Right.